coming up with a marketing idea ever felt like the most overwhelming, frustrating, all consuming, stressful experience? When you're in this space, it can feel totally overwhelming and it can derail your entire day. But after 15 years in the marketing industry, I have found some ways to help make generating ideas and taking action on them at least 10 times easier. How do I know that? Well, I have found myself at many blocks feeling totally overwhelmed, like I couldn't possibly ever figure out what to do. In fact, I felt this way when I was planning this video and some other videos. And so I actually put these tools into action in order to plan some future videos and figure out some other things that needed figuring out. So I know that these work. I have honed and refined them for many years. And let's stop wasting time because you have ideas to get to. I know that your first impulse when you are out of ideas is to immediately run to ChatGPT or your favorite chatbot to give you some ideas. And sometimes that may be all you need to get the ideas flowing. However, I would encourage you to first take a step back and try some of these other things before immediately turning to AI. And my reasoning for this is because the moment that we get an idea that feels good enough, it is really hard to get that out of our minds. In fact, I was feeling that a lot over the weekend when I went to a humor workshop where we were learning how to be able to integrate humor into the various different types of content that we create. And I know what you're probably thinking, but Emma, you're hilarious. How could you even get funnier? I know, shocking to believe, but believe it or not, I think I learned some ways to actually be a little bit funnier. However, one thing that I noticed time and time again in the various exercises that we were doing was as soon as I had that moment of thinking, oh, that's a great idea, my brain just grabbed onto it like a pit bull grabs onto a steak. And it just did not want to let it go. I didn't have space suddenly for any other new ideas. It was like my creativity just slammed the door and I lost access to it. And so when you are bringing ChatGPT into the equation, it's very easy to see one of those ideas, say, yeah, I think that'll work for this particular situation. And to just shut down that access that you have to your creativity. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're not just generating ideas, but that we are generating high quality ideas that are going to be aligned with your goals, that are going to help you meet your objectives, and are really going to push the needle forward. Because if we just needed mediocre ideas, then this wouldn't be so stressful. But we know we need great ideas. And so we need to work a little bit harder sometimes to unearth those when the creativity is not flowing as easily as we would like it to. The first thing that you need to do before getting into any of these specific tips and tricks is that you need to get your mind in order. You must make sure that your mindset is conducive to creating a creative environment. What does that mean? It means that you need to be expansive, that you need to believe in what's possible, even have some optimism. The more restrictive and negative your mental space is, the harder that it's going to be to tap into those expansive, big, audacious ideas that require some positivity and optimism and hope and belief behind them. So if you're finding that you are in a really negative headspace and you are coming up against a creative block, then it's imperative that you figure out what you need to do to get your mind in order. So for me, oftentimes what that means is stepping away from the computer and getting outside. It also can include listening to something or watching something that's totally unrelated, even reading something that's totally unrelated. Sometimes I find that I actually need something that's going to be inspiring and is going to tell my mind, okay, things are going to be good. This can be exciting and positive. You are not a total failure. Not that I find myself that all the time or anything, but I am a perfectionist, and that is one of the negative mental traps that I run into all the time. And if I'm thinking that, if I'm telling myself, Emma, you suck, then I'm not going to be bringing out the best version of myself and my creative ideas. So that's when I say, I'm going to go listen to an interesting inspirational story about an entrepreneur. Or what I really need is I just need to move my body. So I'm going to go on a walk, or I'm going to do a little bit of stretching. I'm going to pull myself away from trying to solve this problem, and I'm going to first focus on taking care of myself. Maybe it's also lunchtime, or I'm not drinking enough water that day. So you really need to be thinking about what you need to take care of yourself and put yourself into the most optimal mental mindset position so that you can allow and invite that creativity to flourish. You know how when you are in the shower or doing those other kinds of activities that don't require your mind to be actively concentrating on something, could be driving, could be in the shower, could be doing some other kind of mundane task, and suddenly the solution appears to you, you can actually cultivate that. So sometimes the solution to the problem isn't just to try to force the solution and to force that creative answer. The solution actually lies in taking a step back from trying to solve that problem and giving your brain an opportunity to work through things by doing something else. So this is, again, where you need to be really clear with yourself and understanding what the root cause of your blockage is so that you can figure out what you need in order to be able to solve it. That's why I am sharing so many different tools, because different situations require a different set of strategies in order to solve them. If it's a problem of you're just too close to the issue and what you really need is to be able to zoom out, give your brain an opportunity to do what it does best, that's where maybe doing some chores or giving your brain some inspiration by learning about something that's completely unrelated to what it is that you're doing could be great ways to allow your mind an opportunity to work through this complex task. Free writing in your journal, which a lot of people will call this morning pages. I believe The Artist's Way is the book and sort of practice and philosophy that really popularized this. But morning pages gives the impression that this is something that you can only do in the morning. And I find for myself that journaling is a direct conduit to accessing things that I'm thinking and feeling that I may not always be aware of. And so it can be a great way to brainstorm with yourself or to work through problems and even perhaps identify, you know what, the reason that I'm feeling so blocked right now is actually because I'm very distracted by this other thing that's going on in my life. And so maybe what you need to do is you need to give that situation some space to process it so that then you can be full-heartedly focused and present on the problem at hand. So, for example, yesterday when I was feeling really stressed and just like, oh my gosh, I have to film tomorrow and I don't have any video ideas. What am I going to do? First, I sat at the computer and I tried to force it, and that didn't work. Then I said, you know what? If I keep staring at this computer, I'm not going to come up with the solution. And I've been trying to plan these videos since last week. So I've been investing tons of time and I just keep coming up on ideas that I don't really feel excited about or quite ready to create. Like they need more research and time to fully flesh out. And so I'm just like, what do? I'm leaving town. I need something. Tomorrow is my day to film. The ideas must be planned out and prepared today if I'm going to stay on schedule. So what I did was I walked away, I went and I sat on the couch and I just hung out with Pickle, for my dog, in case you don't know who Pickle is, for a few minutes, and I felt a little bit sorry for myself. And then I opened my journal and I started writing, and I made myself a nice tea and I ate a little bit, and I went and I sat outside for a few minutes. So none of these things were at all related to trying to find the answer or trying to come up with a video idea. But I did these things, and then before I even went back to the computer, as I was just going through and allowing my brain to process and to just stop forcing the solution, I had an idea. And that was my last video that I just filmed. I don't know what the order is of how I'm going to publish them, but I filmed one video before this, and that was that idea. And it was just an inkling of an idea. I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do with it, but that was all I needed. And once I had that one idea, Then I started to flesh that out. And then the other ideas started to be generated. And I only needed 3 video ideas, and I ended up coming up with like 10. All 10 I'm really excited about. However, if I would have just sat at the computer and continued to hammer away at trying to find video ideas that seemed good, I don't think I would have come up with any of these, because I was just looking at things too narrowly, and I was not giving my mind the space that it needed, and I was not caring for myself in the way that I needed to be able to tap into those ideas, which perhaps some of those I was unconsciously mulling around in my mind for a long time prior to that. So free writing your journal is an excellent, excellent tool that you can use any time of day. And even if you don't know what to write, you can literally write, I don't know what to write. There is something there's a lot of science behind the power of writing with a pen or pencil on a piece of paper, so not just typing on your computer. I would need to refresh myself on all of the myriad of benefits of why that's so great and what it gives you, but I do know there is the science and research there, and also so much of my own personal experience that supports all of the research that I've read in the past. I know that journaling can feel a little bit like, but that's like emotions and everything. Yes, however, it's a great tool and it's worth exploring if you haven't already. So take that for what it's worth. By the way, if you'd like to know my favorite journal and pen and supplies, let me know in the comments and I will let you know. Okay, this is a fun one. Go on an inspiration safari. So you can do this by physically leaving your office and house, but you can also do this right from your computer or your phone. It's all about the intention that you are bringing to it. Creativity is essentially creating connection between two unrelated ideas. And so one of the best ways to be able to stimulate your creativity is to get new and novel and different and interesting things in order for that creativity to start growing and have some things to work with. It's not as A plus B equals C. That's not how creativity works. So you don't have to feel like you need a certain kind of inspiration in order for this to be effective. What you do need is that you need to expand your horizons beyond the specific problem it is that you're trying to solve. So for example, if you are trying to figure out some new ad copy for your Amazon PPC, or you are thinking about what a new campaign could be with influencers on TikTok, just going and looking at what your competitors are doing could be helpful. But what would be even more helpful is to expand beyond that into a totally different category. Maybe go look at the polar opposite category even, or something that's not related at all. So go look at cool National Geographic videos, or look at some old-fashioned ads from the 50s, or find something that sparks your curiosity or interest, and then identify, what is it about that caught my attention? Why is this interesting to me? What do I find compelling about this? And really just revving up your curiosity is the gateway to your creativity. It starts there. If you can get yourself feeling curious, then the creativity is just the next block over. So in your inspiration safari, you're just looking for anything that catches your interest, that makes you feel curious, that makes you want to learn more, that gives you a smile. It doesn't have to be anything like, wow, that's mind-blowing. It can even just be small. And when you recognize that that happens, ask yourself why. What is it about that is making me so interested? So if I was going on a walk, which this happened recently, I was walking in my neighborhood. There's a golf course in my neighborhood. And I noticed, and I don't know why I never put this together, but I saw that that they had a machine that was driving around the golf course that was spray painting the grass a brighter green, which I live in Las Vegas, so being able to maintain really punchy green grass through 120-degree heat all summer did sort of seem like it was magic, but actually it is magic in the form of an illusion because it's just painted. So to think that there is a special piece of equipment that is designed for painting grass, probably primarily on golf courses or other large, expansive lawns that need to look impressive, it made me think, That's so interesting. And that's all you need. And then just keep going and go find the next thing that catches your interest. And whether it's like the clouds in the sky or an interesting bird or like a weird conversation that you overhear from your neighbors, whatever it is. And again, you can do this from your computer, but just be careful if you're doing it from the computer that you don't fall into mindless scrolling as a way of simply wasting time and then putting yourself into an impossible position where you are not giving yourself the opportunity to deliver on the deadline that you have. Role playing is also a trick that I love to use with really any kind of marketing efforts that I make. And when I'm talking about role playing, what I mean is assuming the role of your customer. So putting on your customer mind, setting aside your business perspective, really embodying who your customer is and what they're thinking about. So asking yourself questions like, what is top of mind for them right now? What are their biggest concerns and challenges at the moment? What are their fears? What are they laughing at? Who are they following? All the kinds of questions that you would ask when you are creating a customer avatar, you can ask in this role playing experiment. And this is a more advanced skill that can be difficult at times for people that are trying to figure out how to tap into that. It is a muscle that needs to be strengthened and honed. But it's so valuable, not only with marketing, but really for any aspect of your business. If you are able to put yourself into the mind of your customer as you are making different decisions, whether it's new products to launch or a website redesign or how you're handling a particular situation with customer service, if you can put yourself into your customer's shoes, you will have a more effective outcome. So this is not for everyone, but it can be really helpful for those that are eager to really take things to the next level. Also, by the way, you don't have to do any of this. If all of this is too overwhelming and you need help, we would be happy to see how we can help you. So please feel free to reach out to marketingbyemma.com/free analysis. And that's a great place for us to start to take a look at your product page or your website and give you some feedback for some observations that we have about how you can take things to the next level. And now, on to one of the most popularized of all, the shitty first draft. This is a term coined by Anne Lamott in her wonderful book, Bird by Bird. And this is essentially the idea that for many people, the hardest part is just to start. And so rather than creating all of this buildup of trying to do all of these things and create the perfect scenario and all of the conditions are ideal, you just do it. And sometimes, and this can function similarly to free writing in your journal, where it's sometimes that the ideas begin to form as you're working on it. And sometimes you just need to confront it head on. And as you'll see here with all of these different examples, we've gone through a wide range of situations and a wide range of tools that you can use depending on what situation that you find yourself in. So all of these tools are going to become more effective as you become more attuned with what is going on with you in that particular moment. So I imagine by this point, you have some ideas for what you can do to get those ideas going. And perhaps now you're also ready to take those ideas to the next level by really making your copywriting pop and convert as many customers as possible. So if you want to know how to do that, you can watch the video that's appearing right here, and I will see you over there. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Bye.